Those of you who have been with me since the start know that my very first review was on the Pwnage Sim 2, and this follow-up, a spiritual successor to that mouse. This is the Trinity CF.
Your powers are mine! Armed and dangerous! Again! The move again! That's what I need. Not so fast!
You're powered up. Get in there.
Your carry is here! Observe this! Initializing system!
Using the kill! You've already lost.
Blasted.
Until next time.
Targeting Cobra.
You ga wagateki wo kurau!
Alright, we are going to start off with a quick unboxing. Here is the box, and of course inside we've got the mouse and the dongle. Starting off with the mouse, when you first get it, there will be some blue film on the skates here. Just take that off. But here it is, neat designs on there, little etchings and all that stuff. Now there are two versions, version with side holes, version without side holes. In my opinion, just get it without side holes. The weight difference, I think, is going to be pretty minimal. The dongle is here. This is a pretty neat looking dongle. It's got a bit of a purple hue to it, and that's specifically with the Sakura Samurai colorway here. And this goes up to 8,000 hertz for polling rate. Underneath here, we've got a little box that has all the extra garbage in there. We've got a USB-C cable, obligatory. Now there is grip tape. As you can see, it's not very textured. It is pretty much plain. Very grippy though. I'm not personally a huge fan of grip tape, but if you really like grippy stuff, this may be valuable to you. This mouse is not particularly grippy. It's more of a satin texture, honestly. It's not like overly slippery. In my hands when I'm using it in game, I didn't have any issues with it slipping or anything like that. But if you prefer that more grippy feel, it may help, at least on the sides. I wouldn't cover up mouse 1 and mouse 2 just because they look so cool. After that, we've also got the instruction booklet, which if you're like me, you will never use. And then we got some extra little grip tape here. Same stuff, just tiny little custom cut ones that you can just throw wherever you want. We've got a little hollow sticker, so that's neat if you want to represent some more skates. Now, this does normally come with another pair of these skates, but when I first got this mouse, I threw on some custom dots, and I just didn't like how it felt, so I threw the extra cut ones on here. So you will have extra ones of those, and you've got the dots here. There's like a crap load of them too. First thing is first, this is a carbon fiber mouse, and this is my first carbon fiber mouse. I've had a couple of magnesium alloy mice, and by comparison, the carbon fiber feels, it gives the sense that it's a little bit more flimsy, but practically speaking, in hand, it really doesn't actually feel any different in terms of durability. What I will say is that the temperature is different. The carbon fiber doesn't get as cold, whereas a magnesium alloy is, a metal. So if you live in a particularly cold environment, you may get that mouse to feel kind of cold, and it may take a bit to warm up, which could be a pro or a con depending on how you look at it. Now, as for the build, there is slight flex. I don't know if I'm going to even be able to pick it up on the sidewalls. In practical use in game, I didn't feel it at all. It's really only if I squeeze. And this is like pretty heavy pressure that I get like a little bit of side flex. Now, the bottom plate, that's where the flex really is. And all I have to do is just a tiny bit of pressure Just a tiny bit of pressure and it bows in. Practically speaking, I mean, no one's ever gonna be, unless you're playing like, I don't know, Mr. Krabs or something, like just don't hold it like this, you'll be fine. But that is something to consider. The bottom plate does have a moderate amount of flex with even just a light amount of pressure. Now, main clicks are Omron opticals. These are pretty interesting compared to most optical switches. They have a kind of a springy feel to them. I do like the way they feel, and they also sound a little bit softer. The sound of the clicks isn't as sharp as your typical mechanical or opticals, but I do like them. They're well implemented. The only issue that came up with the clicks, at least on my unit, is the mouse 1 has a little bit of this minor grinding sound depending on where I click. Like if I click a little bit more forward, which is typically where my fingers land on this, you can hear like a very light grinding sound, and that's developed over like the 2 weeks that I've been testing this mouse, which is unfortunate, but it isn't very noticeable in terms of click feel. Thankfully, it's just the sound, but that is present, and it could potentially develop into feeling it as well over time, but I'll only really know that as more time passes and I continue to use this mouse. There is just a touch of pre-travel, moderate post-travel, but not in a bad way. It doesn't feel floppy, if that makes sense. The side buttons are fantastic. Easy to click, very tactile, nice crispy sound to them, minimal pre-travel, a little bit of post-travel. No complaints with the side buttons. As for the scroll wheel, it is a little bit lightly tensioned for my taste. You may actually prefer a lighter tensioning, but that's just me. But the steps are well defined, so I do like that. Now, in terms of the scroll click, it's not particularly tactile, but it is stiff enough that I personally didn't have any issues accidentally clicking it while scrolling, like in games or just scrolling down a web page or anything like that. Now, let's do a quick sound test so you can kind of hear how all of these switches sound. The most interesting part of this mouse for me is the repositionable sensor. As you can see, I've put mine in the forward-facing position. That's how it feels best for me. When you get one of Pwnage's mice that have this feature, you just need to spend like a day or two experimenting between forward, rear, and center positions to figure out which works best for you. You will feel pretty quickly what you enjoy and what you don't like. Leave a pinned comment or something down below about how I would suggest testing out those sensor positions and seeing what works best for you. Now let's move on to a few comparisons. This is the Sim 2. Really nothing to really compare. Just look how far we've come. This was the mouse I did my first review on, and here we are. Now we got the Trinity CF. That's neat. Anywho, first off, I want to compare it to the Cobra Pro, which Razer claims is not a Viper Mini follow-up, but I call cap. This is totally a Viper Mini follow-up. It's almost the exact same shape, but there are like key design differences here that make it also not a Viper Mini. So it's kind of in this weird in-between. This has a lot more of a jack-of-all-trades kind of design. It's got 2 extra buttons on top. Those are programmable, so it is a little bit more practical in terms of productivity, that sort of thing. Along with that, it's also got Bluetooth in addition to 2.4 gigahertz wireless. And you can see here, it's got this puck. This is a wireless charging puck, but this is an add-on that you have to purchase on top of the mouse. So this has a lot of like quality of life features that make it more of a practical type of mouse. Oh, and of course, who could forget, the RGB is crazy. And in my opinion, I think like this is some of the nicest looking RGB that you can get. It's really cool. It has a little bit of like this halo around the corner there because of that ring. And I think this is really tasteful. I'm not usually big on RGB, but this mouse, as well as the newer Basilisk, I really like the way this kind of creates a halo effect of RGB rather than it being like this really garish line that just shoots a laser into your eyeballs. Now, in terms of on-paper practical use, both of these are pretty much on the same page. Both are using a sensor based on the Pixar 3950. Both of these are using optical switches, and both of these are capable of going up to 8,000 hertz for polling rate. Now, the caveat is this mouse, you have to buy an add-on, either the 8K dongle or the magnetic charging dock to get anything past 1,000 hertz, which is a pain in the butt and pretty unfortunate. Now, the other thing to consider is this is pretty heavy, at least for its size. It's 77 grams at base, and with the puck, this is 82 grams. Now, that's totally usable, I think. Anyone could really adjust to that weight, but it is kind of jarring to go from 50, 60 gram mice back up to like 80-ish grams. Only issue is this is a very small mouse. This is still a small form factor mouse. And when you have a small mouse that's that heavy, it just feels like a dense little brick. Beyond that, the price, it's around $120 to $130, depending on if you get it on sale, but that's only at the 1K polling. If you want to go up to 4K or 8K, you'll have to get the dongle or the wireless charging dock, and let's just assume if you're getting this, you're getting it for like the maximum practical effects. The wireless charging dock is $80. So you're looking at close to $200 for this mouse, and that's a lot. Like, this is only $140 to $150 depending on the colorway. But the other thing to consider, and I think in my opinion is the nail in the coffin for the Cobra Pro, is just these side grips. Like, these side grips are notorious for wearing down really quickly, and they're not removable, they're not replaceable, which is just a huge bummer because even in my review of the Cobra Pro, I said it wasn't a bad mouse. I said it was a bad Viper Mini, but it wasn't a bad mouse. The thing that really holds it back is the pricing and the side grips. If it was just the pricing, okay, not a great price, but you know, you could argue because of the practicality, maybe you could argue it. But with these side grips and the fact that this mouse is going to become really ugly and feel gross really quickly, it's just a non-starter. It's not a great choice. Now, of course, the biggest comparison to make is, in my opinion, with the Viper Mini Signature Edition. Size, shape are almost identical. The differences are so minor that it's not even really worth going over. The weight is different. Viper Mini Signature Edition is going to be 49 grams, whereas the Trinity CF is, at least on my scale, 41 grams. They claim it's 39, I believe, on the website, but I'll show you on this one. But on both of my scales I got 41 grams. So just so you can see here, 41 grams for this guy. And then for the Viper Mini Signature, it is 49 grams. So if you're one of those people that are really chasing the low weights, yeah, this is lighter. The other thing to consider is the material as well as the way they're built. Because of how they use this kind of structure here with the triangles, as well as just the magnesium being a little bit thicker on these sections here, this does just generally feel a lot more sturdy. Side flex is slightly more on the Viper Mini, but the bottom plate, there's almost no flex at all. So overall, this does feel more sturdy, though it does have a little bit more side play on the sidewalls. But even when I was using it a lot, like, I never noticed it. Same with the Trinity. There is side flex, but I mean, it's so minimal that no one is ever gonna really notice it unless you're like really raging super hard. On paper, these are going to perform pretty much identically. You've both got the sensors that are based on Pixar 3950s. Both have optical switches and go up to 8,000 hertz polling. So realistically, there may be some minor differences in performance, but you're really not going to notice it. No one will. This has a lot more color options. There's two, at least for the time being, there are two limited edition color options, and there are two standard color options. With the Viper Mini, you only have two, and the black one, this one, is no longer available. It's not being produced. It's only available in white. What is the real kicker here is the price. Like I said, this is $140 to $150, depending on which version you get. The Viper Mini Signature Edition, this thing costs $280. $280. And that's for the black one. The one that isn't available anymore. You know, the one that is currently available, the white edition, that one is $300. There is literally no world where I can come up with a reason for you to get a Viper Mini Signature Edition when the Trinity exists. The Trinity CF, in my opinion, kind of makes the Viper Mini Signature Edition obsolete. Like, do not buy this. I cannot think of a good reason to buy this mouse. Oh, one other thing I actually forgot to bring up. Side buttons. Side buttons are real mushy and are very flush with the body. So they don't feel good. And because they're more flush with the body, they're just a little bit not as easy to access to push in. Whereas these have a good amount of poking out of the body, if that makes sense. And they're very crispy sounding, very tactile. Yeah, overall, honestly, there's no reason. Don't get this. Just get this. If you're looking for a Viper Mini shaped mouse that is super lightweight, this is the route right now. So yeah, guys, I've really enjoyed using this mouse. There are a few caveats. The flexing on the bottom plate, which I personally think is a non-issue, but may be an issue for some of you, depending on just what you prefer, what your values are, and as well as that right click. That is kind of unfortunate that it's getting that grindy sound, and it's very minor. But when it comes to mice that get up to this price, like I'm gonna nitpick for small things. Thankfully, I don't feel it, but we'll see if it develops into a grinding sensation as well as a grinding sound. Hopefully it doesn't, but I'm gonna keep running this thing, see how it feels over a little bit more time, and I'll probably add a comment or something to this video just to kind of update if that changes. But yeah, I do really like this mouse. It is an interesting feeling having this thing in hand. But there are plenty more videos to come, guys. Lots more reviews, live streams. I'm going to be trying to get more into live streaming Overwatch 2 as well as Marvel Rivals. I've been having a lot of fun playing Loki. But anyways, if you guys have any questions or feel like there's anything I missed, just feel free to leave a comment down below. Like and subscribe if you like what I'm doing. But yeah, otherwise, thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate your time. You guys take care. God bless, and I will see you on the next one. Later.